This is it. This is episode 624 of No Laugh Track Podcast. Valentine's Day week, everybody, here at Acme. Well, all over the country, all over the world. Does the whole world, David Crowe, does the whole world celebrate Valentine's Day? This is... didn't you study
I think
for this
so.
question?
I think it doesn't take much to send out there in the world a day where men are supposed to bring the ladies some sort of sign of their adoration and appreciation. That has a tendency to catch on as a tradition. You're not going to get a lot of pushback from the exes. Are they? Who's XX? Are we XX? I can never remember.
I don't know. So for the people not watching YouTube and just listening, that is the voice of David Crowe, comedian who has been on this podcast, I don't know, a handful of times, but only once in the last 8 years, and that was just last fall, I guess?
Yeah.
September, you were here for Crash and Burn.
That's right.
Yes.
And I think the time I was here before then was the previous Crash and Burn, about 8 years earlier.
Yeah, Yeah, so here we are. It was so nice to see you back then, and we did a podcast last September with the Crash and Burn. And first, let's start there. Because I didn't get to talk to you at the end of the week. How did that go for you?
Here is what's great, or the part of Crash and Burn that Crash and Burn people in Minneapolis never get to see, which might be an interesting addendum to Crash and Burn. I don't know if you follow the history podcaster Dan Carlin, who has Hardcore History.
Okay.
He's got one of his little things is Hardcore History Addendum.
Oh,
so
sounds like something I'd like.
Yeah,
okay.
Hardcore History is fantastic. But he does long-form history podcasts. They're like 18 hours, Not all at once, but they're... Anyway,
yep.
The Crash and Burn addendum is when you develop your material throughout the week, and then you have that big final show on Saturday, and everybody always does really well because you've dialed it in, you've helped each other. The audiences at Acme are great. They know what's going on, and you feel like I have achieved something that's I'm proud of.
Yeah.
The addendum, you take that 20 minutes and you go out into the comedy hinterland again, where you get the biggest reality punt to your groin, because I would say only a third of it works like it's supposed to. Maybe another third works sometimes, and the third doesn't work at all. So, and that's what would be fun to film, actually.
Yes,
or at least
agree.
record. And I did film some of it, or recorded some of the audio. And for example, I really wanted to have an opening line for the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted, because I've never just come out on stage and had an opening line. So the one I wrote that worked all week flawlessly here was, I hope you're having a good time. You know what they say, life is short, especially if your parents are pro-choice. Everybody immediately laughed at the sort of dark awkwardness of that. Booed in Seattle. Booed for my opening line. Boo. And I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out why. What? Okay, I didn't get it.
Wow.
So
did
that
you,
was.
Did you drop that?
Well, I kept trying it. I was at a club in Seattle too. I don't know. I want to interview the audience. What do you think I'm saying there? And don't know. But anyway, that's just one example.
Interesting.
Of sometimes you do stuff here for Crash and Burn and it works, and then you take it elsewhere and there just doesn't seem to, they don't quite get it. I don't know.
So for people coming to see you this week, will maybe a third that survived be part of the act?
Yeah, probably a third, and then probably half of the third that works sometimes, because it worked here just fine.
Yeah.
And what I'm looking forward to is kind of blending it with stuff that, that I've been doing a while here and there that is kind of Valentines-y.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we started recording, you were having a little conversation with Lewis, the owner here, and you mentioned about working on something about your 4 decades at Acme.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So this is what social media does. It's the big time suck, especially if you're trying to post something. Because I always get too involved in the editing. I get jealous of these people who just talk into their phone and post it and carry on with their day. What I thought it'd be fun is because my first time here was 1993. And my first stand-up was 1991 in December 23rd. So I came here pretty shortly after my first open mic.
Yeah.
And so I went, and I've always been a little bit of a gear head and an AV geek. So I've always traveled with the video camera and recorded myself and all that.
Yeah.
And, over the years, it's common to throw tapes away or tape over them or whatever. But I rarely did that just because I'm a little bit of a digital hoarder. So last year, bought a bunch of tape decks and converters and things from Craigslist and eBay. And I thought, I'm going to digitize all these tapes and get rid of them. And plus, tape decays, right? So over time, you kind of have to do something.
Absolutely, yeah.
So anyway, I thought it'd be fun to post on social media today, do a little intro reel out front of the club, and then grab a clip from every decade that I've been here. And so I was just finishing that up before I had to come here and do this. But yeah, I have a clip from '95, a clip from 2005. I did run across a clip from 2003, and Chad Daniels is opening for that. He's the feature act for that set. So I have about 15 minutes of Chad every time I go up.
Amazing. That's a good chance I was here for one of those shows. That's so cool.
Andy, I forget his middle name. He was hosting.
Okay.
Tall guy, dark hair.
Okay. Sure it'll come to me.
And yeah, it was great. And Chad, the thing about sometimes you see, that's why he's so successful today, is he's kind of exactly the same guy back then, even though he's fresh-faced and brand new. And I don't know if he's like newly married at the time or no kids, but whatever. It's fun to see him.
Oh, that's really cool. Is there a chance people will be able to see these old clips?
Yeah. I was gonna as soon as I get back, I'm gonna go post it. But I'll send you a link so you can do it too. But
so you know what? That's gonna tie into something I wanted to talk about. Going through these old videos of you performing here.
Yeah.
What you wore on stage, did that ever change your style and what you came out wearing?
That's kind of what this thing reveals.
Is that right?
When I was starting, I was very influenced by Steve Martin, and I could sell half-baked ideas like nobody's business. It was all about delivery, and there's energy and jumping around and accents and physical stuff. I couldn't sit still.
Okay.
And then you cut to, because the last one is 2025, which is from a few months ago, and I'm just standing there. Low energy, everything's very verbal. Of course, it's more difficult to do some of that stuff these days anyway, but yeah. So that's what's changed, is the level of charisma and energy that was just blasting off the stage before. Some might call it neediness, but whatever. It's toned down quite a bit.
I've seen two comedy specials in the last 24 hours really.
Yeah.
Where the headliner, the star of the show, one was Cat Williams. He has a new special on Netflix.
Yeah.
The other one was Nick Swartzen.
Oh.
St. Paul's Finest.
Yeah.
Has a brand new one on YouTube called Toilet Head that was recorded at First Avenue.
Yeah.
Both cases, they're wearing shorts on stage doing stand-up.
Oh.
Huh?
Yeah. Okay, well, there you go.
Which night this week are you coming out in shorts? Valentine's Day?
No, there will be no shorts.
Did you bring any along in February?
I did not. I'll bring my Elmer Fudd helmet.
Yeah. I think comedy's changing in some ways. Could you imagine seeing that when you were coming up in the early 90s, someone going up on stage wearing shorts?
It's kind of funny, that there was this suit mentality that
right.
That I mean, when you look at my old clips, ill-fitting suits was kind of a problem for me, actually. Because you can't afford anything nice, so you get those things from Marshalls, and they don't flow with your body. You kind of look like the guy from the Talking Heads up there.
Yeah,
So sad. You think you're doing well, and then you look at these clips from all these times.
Once in a lifetime.
I just wish that I had just chosen like the Louis C.K. look, T-shirt, jeans.
Yeah,
it never ages. No one really cares once after the first minute.
Yeah. So where are you living these days?
Seattle.
You are in Seattle.
Yeah.
The Seattle football team just won the Super Bowl. I have a feeling you couldn't care less. Is that correct?
Oh no, I like
You
watching
do like
that.
football.
Sure.
I listened back to a conversation you and I had in an old podcast, and
Yeah.
I brought up baseball, and you're like, I couldn't care less.
Oh,
if Kermit was here, you should have Kermit here. I hate baseball.
Yeah.
So you like football?
I like football mainly because it's. I know the seasons are a bit longer now, but it's still only 18 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I can do that. 100 whatever games of baseball. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And also football is great for tape delayed watching. I really don't know how it's legal to be able to fast forward through all the commercials of the people who pay for you to be able to see this, but that's got to change at some point.
Well, I mean, if they do pop up more during broadcast now, and they do that little, hey, we'll be back. Like they'll like let's say I'll be watching a hockey game. They'll blend right into like a 3-second little. Here's a
right
Uber, and then come.
Right.
So they do. They've tried because they know that we are doing that.
It doesn't make any sense to have this very expensive production made delivered to you, and then you just I don't want to listen to the people who are actually bringing this to me. But anyway, so I like that. So I tend to watch I watched every Seahawks game this year.
Oh, you did.
But after it was over, and I always start halfway through the third quarter.
Okay. And you never caught up to live by the time it was over?
Well, it's long after it was over.
Long after it was over.
Yeah,
Nice.
like later that night or maybe the next morning.
Are you avoiding spoilers at this point, or you don't care?
I don't really care that much, but yeah, it just hasn't been a problem.
All right. So then I as a lifelong, Minnesota resident, Vikings fan, I know this isn't a sports podcast, but it comes up. What's it like to win a Super Bowl? What's it like for your team to win a Super Bowl?
Well, I got
Let me live vicariously through you. How much fun was it?
Because I was born in St. Paul.
That's
right.
You and me, buddy.
So I have a real connection with Minnesota.
That's right. I remember this.
And it was particularly delicious to win a Super Bowl with Minnesota's quarterback. I don't say delicious. It was sort of, I wondered how it was going over here. I noticed you fired your GM immediately.
Yes, like the week of, yes. Uh-huh.
Who was probably the guy rooting for Sam Darnold's failure most.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. All season, I'm sure, behind the scenes.
But on that subject, I don't know how it was here for fans in general, but when Minnesota was not signing the guy who won them 14 games, as a layman, just guy who watches games and that's about it, don't pretend to know a ton about it, I just thought, what a team really needs is a guy who can go out there and do the job. That's just someone who can do the job. If you have that, you can build a successful team around him. And 14, I felt like he proved he could do the job. I thought J.J. McCarthy playing for Michigan was more. I think any quarterback would look good playing for that Michigan team.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was basically a great line that could open up holes for running
You were
backs.
in the national championship.
Yeah.
It wasn't just because of him.
So I didn't understand the whole we're going to move off Darnold when he was here at Minnesota, but whatever. And I think that was what was recognized in Seattle was the coach and the general manager, who's fantastic, just said, you know what, he can do it. We don't need him to be a Superman like a Josh Allen. We just need somebody who can run the playbook, and he does a fantastic job of that.
Yeah.
So
I'm happy for him. He seems like a good guy. When the Vikings had him last year at the beginning of the year, I'm like, Sam Darnold? You mean the guy who's been on a new team every year for the last 4 years because he's not good? Turns out he is.
People forget, and the pundits that you listen to, because I listen to sports talk sometimes.
Okay.
And I think the pundits never really discuss the fact that, wait a minute, maybe a quarterback with the same offensive coordinator, or at least same, what do they call it, the same offensive scheme for more than, say, half a year might help the quarterback. So when you keep switching teams and learning new everything, I think Sam Darnold's going to be excellent next year because he'll actually be with the same team for more than a year.
People are very confident that Seattle's going to have another good year next year.
Yeah.
So enjoy.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
It must be nice.
Yeah.
Did you? So you were? When did you? You missed the parade yesterday. Then you weren't back in Seattle yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have gone to the parade.
Wouldn't have gone
I'm
to the parade?
not that much of a fan. Yeah. I tend to be a fan. I like results. I like watching things sort of. I see the results happen, but I like the rest of my life too. So
Sure.
I find that 2 minutes after a game is over, win or lose, I feel about the same.
That's good. That's healthy. That's healthy. Sir.
So it's always a reminder. Like, do I want to invest a ton of time to get that same feeling?
You're not putting a jersey on when you watch the game.
No. In fact, when I was on the dating apps profiles, all the online dating stuff, anybody who had a picture of themselves in a sports team jersey, nope, swipe left or whatever you do. Don't want any part of that.
Is that right?
Anybody who said, I live life to the fullest, bullshit. You do not. Anybody who says that does not.
Are you saying that on stage?
No.
Oh. No,
should I? Okay.
That's pretty good.
I just think you have to have a modicum of humility about how interesting your life really is. I live life to the fullest. Oh, yeah. Making your pad thai. That's what your idea of like being the most interesting person in the world is?
Live, laugh, love.
Yeah, there you go. Listen to me, mister.
Did you see what you missed in the parade yesterday?
No.
6'6" right tackle for the Seahawks hit his head on a traffic light during the parade.
Oh, jeez. Is he okay?
Yeah, double-decker bus. So they're standing out there waving to everybody.
Right.
And he's not looking. He's waving. All of a sudden, bam, to the side, a stoplight.
Wow.
Look it up. It's
okay.
He's okay.
He's okay.
It's good for a laugh.
Should wear their helmets.
Yes. So let's see. So before we started recording, we were talking about some shows that you were in Arizona. You said doing a show recently,
okay.
And then that led into another conversation we were having.
I did a show. It was my very first show at one of these. We'll call them retirement communities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a 55+ community, which is really just like a gated country club. And they just don't want kids on mini bikes racing around. So it was much more talking to people like myself than I thought it was going to be. I was prepared for, but it was not my first time auditioning for something like that.
Okay.
My first time doing that was at a place called The Villages in Florida, which is kind of legendary. There's a collection of about 60 of these private gated country club / retirement communities, probably 90% Jewish. These places. Oh. And they all get together, and once a year they hold a series of auditions for entertainment, and then if you do well, they book you at all 60 of their.
This is like the college tryout thing.
It is. It's exactly like NACA.
NACA, yeah.
So I did that, and I was asked to come down and do that. The thing was, I followed Jessica Curson. Do you know who she is?
I have seen her 3 times live with my daughter. We are fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Jessica Curson is Jewish.
Yes.
She did 15 minutes of impressions of her Jewish grandmother
Which
to a room full of 500 Jewish grandparents.
I know the voice.
Yeah.
I know the voice. Yeah.
Then they called me up. Out of 60, it was. Have you ever heard the story of the guy who had to follow the Beatles on Ed Sullivan? Okay. He's got nothing on me. I had a potential of 60 gigs in the room. I got a total booking number of 0 out of 60. I walked away, And then the next year on social media, it was I kept getting the TikToks and the reels of Jessica Curson in her car going to another one of my gigs in the Villages.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She absolutely destroyed.
I know the character. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Of
Yeah.
course she did.
Yeah. So. Oh well.
Did you have a conversation with her afterwards? Like, wow.
Before and after.
Like,
Yeah.
Guess you just booked your next 4 months.
Yeah. It was. Anyway.
Wow.
Oh well.
Could you imagine ever living in one of those type of places?
No.
Oh boy.
I
mean, when you're old enough.
No. I need a chaos. I need to me nature is disorganized. Nature, if you go to anywhere in nature, right? It's not organized. It's a mess. It's things living off of things. It's chaos. It's this eats that and whatever. That to me makes me feel at ease. You want to give me anxiety? Put me on a golf course. Okay. Just where man has organized everything and here's the line and don't go there and just look at that. And I can't stand that kind of programmed, organized, this is how everything should be.
I'm going to make a leap and say that this is why you never had a 9-to-5 job.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's when the whole woke idea of language control to me is like the language that sounds like a golf course. It's like you can't say that. You can't say that. You have to be careful of that. To me, language is this big, glorious mess of ideas that we don't want to have, but we do anyway, and we can't help ourselves and whatever. It's just going through the world with this idea that it's got to be edited so that nobody is surprised or shocked or disappointed or just steps in that or whatever. It's gross to me, and that's how I feel going into organized communities. I just feel really upset inside. And so I would rather be like where Mordall lives, where you have a broken down vehicle in your driveway and nobody comes up to tell you to get rid of it because the HOA
doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Right. I don't know. I just like that messiness.
Interesting. And you lived all over the planet at this point, right? Like
I haven't lived it in a bunch of places, but I've traveled quite a bit. Right now, I've spent a lot of time in the UK because my daughter is going to school over there, so I go over there quite a bit.
Okay.
Headed there right after this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's going, what? So when we did a podcast back in like 18 maybe?
Yeah, she was
like 8 years old, right?
Yeah. She's 16 now.
Look at that.
And her mom got a post at a hospital there, so they moved over there for temporarily, and then she ended up deciding to stay, which has been much to my chagrin. But
I bet, yeah.
So, but whatever, I have to spend as much time over there as I can.
Sure. So you're in Seattle, and then we definitely need to talk about. So how do I set this up? Before you were here for Crash and Burn, you posted a video on your Facebook page.
Yeah, man.
About working. It was kind of like a little like catching up on what you had been doing.
Right.
And I think that's something we should talk about right now. Like.
Okay.
Well, you could start there.
Well,
trying to think of a good place to start.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to 2018. You were here at Acme. You recorded, and then you had a plan of how things were gonna go versus the way things did go. Let's kind of start there.
Well, it actually starts with everything's going like it normally would, I mean, outside of COVID and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of threw a wrench into everyone's plans.
Yeah.
But so COVID was sort of normalizing. We were all normalizing out of the COVID thing.
Going into COVID, you were still like normal, doing shows.
Yeah. And then I was at home doing some yard work, and this is in beginning of 2023. And I was listening to a podcast about Ukraine, about the war over there, because they were attacked roughly not quite a year earlier, right? Feb 24.
Yeah.
And the guy, who's an independent journalist, was over there just phoning in, said something along the lines of yeah, the comedy scene in Kyiv is booming. And I couldn't get that out of my head. I thought, why would the comedy scene be booming in December, going into, a year after this full invasion?
Yeah.
And so for some reason, sometimes you hear something, you can't get it out of your head. So I'm not getting any younger. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go there with a camera and I'm going to find out what's going on. Because that's all he said, really. He was reporting on the war. He'd been to the front and all this stuff. And he just said, he spoke Ukrainian. So he just said, yeah, it's really weird if you go out, really comedy nights are the only thing you can do. I thought, that's weird. So I got together a camera and some recording gear, some audio gear, and I had no plan. And I flew to Poland, and I got on one of these big old Soviet-era trains that was 10 hours, went from Poland all the way across to Kyiv, and got out of the train with absolutely no plan, not knowing anybody. And I had a hotel that was expecting me, which was, you got to have somewhere to land.
Mm-hmm.
But here's why I did all that. My only experience of travel as a comedian is that I would arrive in a city, go to an open mic, meet a bunch of local young budding comedians, suddenly have a bunch of new friends and a pretty full social calendar for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
That's my only experience.
Yeah.
So I thought, why would Ukraine be any different? So I landed, checked into the hotel, woke up the next day, Googled, comedy nights, comedy clubs, whatever. This little sports bar came up. And so I just walked over there about, like 5 o'clock and asked the bartender, are there stand-ups, comedians? And he pointed to this table, and there was a bunch of young guys sitting around with laptops open and notebooks. Of course. Yeah. And they just happened. They were having a meeting.
Yeah.
And so I just walked over and introduced myself, told them I was a comedian from the U.S. here to shoot a documentary on what the hell was going on here. And it was like, same thing. Instantly had 6 best friends. Yeah. They connected me with everybody in Kyiv who was in the comedy scene, people who had been doing it for 8 years, which is when it basically started.
Okay.
People who were just brand new. I went and filmed shows, went to people's apartments, got 20 different interviews from young, like had been doing it 6 months, to Svat, who's like their king of comedy. He's the one who really brought stand-up about 8 years ago to Ukraine.
Oh, how did that?
Some guy from had gone to New York and seen it, and then wanted to do a stand-up show, and he was on the bill because he was always around entertainment. Anyway, so I'm now just finishing editing the whole thing, and I'm going to release it somehow. But it is riveting, and here's what's at stake, and I think this is why Americans will find it interesting. Stand-up comedy is a free speech forum. We're very proud of that. We all know that. We in the industry know it. People out who just love the industry know it. We're known for that. Like, go back in time, and there's George Carlin was a big free speech guy. Richard Pryor, free speech. Lenny Bruce, all about the saying what's hard to hear and all that, right?
Yep.
Except as Americans, we have lived 250 years under the Constitution, which guarantees our right to free speech. We don't really have any experience of anything other than that, unless you want to count the minorities who have, throughout the history had occasions, periods where they weren't included with this. But as a general rule, our country only knows free speech without retribution.
Yeah.
So, how much is really at stake for an American comedian? What's at stake is, we might get canceled, we might get criticized. But that's it. Ukraine, anybody alive today, only has a living memory of the Soviet Russian oppression. Free speech was never a thing. They've only actually become independent and recognized as independent since 1991. And ever since then, every 5-10 years, the Russia has tried to sort of reclaim them, whether it's just sort of in theory or officially, like they're trying to do right now. But these Ukrainian comedians are getting up on stage, posting on YouTube, criticizing with no punches pulled this regime that's trying to take them over. And here's the most impressive thing. They know that if they lose, there will be real Gulag Archipelago type retribution for what they've said. Because that's how it works in Russia.
Did you see the thing about someone who was just arrested? Like, just the other... I have the story right here.
In Ukraine or in Russia?
A Russian stand-up comedian was sent to a penal colony for almost 6 years. This is 2 Wednesdays ago, I think, for a joke about a war veteran who lost his legs. The latest conviction in a sweeping crackdown of those who question the war in Ukraine. Moscow-based Artemy Ostanin told a story on stage last year about bumping into a disabled ex-soldier on the metro who he called a legless skater. Pro-Kremlin figures and media outlets spread a clip of the joke online, calling for the comic to be punished for insulting Russian soldiers wounded in the war in Ukraine. A Moscow court also found him guilty of inciting hatred and insulting religious feelings over a separate joke about religion. He's 29 years old. He denied the joke alluded to veterans of the Special Military Operation, Moscow's term for the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's real. That's the world that they've lived in. That's the world they're fighting to escape.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So my respect for and concern really for all of these comedians it just levels up tenfold compared to anything that I or my fellow American comedians have had to, really be
Without
concerned
question.
about. So that's in part what this documentary is trying to show and trying to get people to appreciate, and maybe in some kind of soft diplomatic way try to sway some opinions about who the right side to support is. And also, and here's what's kind of weird, and I don't know how much of this make it into the film because I don't really want this to be about the U.S.
Okay.
But the fact that we have a president who has openly talked about being retribution.
Mm-hmm.
You do not want to live in a world where politicians are retribution oriented, because just ask the Ukrainians how that works out for you, or this poor Russian comedian, right? It's something that you really need to consider. It might be nice while it's working for you, but it always gets flipped.
Yeah.
It always gets flipped. It's just it's a poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when the I Need You to Kill documentary.
Yeah.
Comedy
right.
in Asia.
Yeah.
There's clearly some similarities here, and I remember people talking. The people that were part of that said comedy-wise, they're like, it's like 80s comedy back then.
Yeah.
So are you what were you seeing on stage there?
So, and this is in the film actually, because I can't believe I was fortunate enough to. There were some coincidences that I thought it's like this seems like it was planned, but I started stand up in 1991, December 23rd, the very same week Ukraine got independence, just by coincidence. My very first gig in Seattle was at the Comedy Underground, which was a basement room in the below a sports bar called Swanee's.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 1991, so of course it's during the whole grunge revolution of the Seattle music scene, right? So I walk into this place. I'm in Ukraine. I Google the nearest comedy club, and I see this place called Bochka Pub. Bochka is a barrel. It's basically a reference to a keg.
Okay.
So it's a pub. Keg is their theme, I guess. But so I just walk over there, and I walk in, and it's an American themed sports bar,
Okay.
right? Called Boichka Pub. And I notice on the sound system, they're playing Alice in Chains.
Seattle band.
Yeah, Seattle band. And then I see the sign comedy, and there's an arrow pointing down these stairs off to the side. So I go down these stairs into the basement, and that's where these comedians are running this comedy room. And my home club, my first gig was called the Comedy Underground. So I thought, this is so surreal. This is deja vu.
Yeah.
And the oldest club in Kyiv is called Stand Up Underground, or Underground Stand Up, rather. So again, in another different basement. So,
Yeah.
So that's, I would say it does feel like the 80s there, because the comedians, the venues are not operated by a restaurateur or an owner. Comedians just find a room that they can use attached to a restaurant, right? And so the restaurant serves the food and the drink, and then the comedians sell tickets and get an audience there. So these 6 comedians, of all of whom had been doing stand-up for about a year or two, were running a venue that was doing 14 shows a week.
Whoa!
Most of them sold out. They had, on Saturday, they had a show at 3 in the afternoon, a show at 4 in the afternoon, because they had 2 little rooms. They had a show at 6:30 and a show at 8, and they would have done later, but there's a curfew at 9, so.
Wow.
Because they're at war, so.
Yeah, imagine that.
I know. So in that regard, it was like this boom. So the movie is called Comedy Bloom, sort of a play on the boom word, but yeah.
What do you think the future of this documentary is going to be? When?
Well, I was talking to Lewis about that because he did the what was his called again?
I Need You to Kill.
I Need You to Kill. Yeah, right now. I don't really have an answer, but what's interesting is I keep hearing fellow comedians who do specials talk about how if you can sell it to Netflix or sell it to Amazon or sell the thing, and you get this like initial like hit, they'll promote it for you, and then maybe you get an advance check or something. But if the thing doesn't take off, it just they say it just flounders in sort of the archives of these big streaming services.
Oh yes, I've talked to other
talents
that have experienced that.
And it's really hard to do anything to generate people to go that way. In fact, the only avenue you have is social media or YouTube and all that kind of stuff to try to get people to go to Netflix. So I've also heard that these days people have had more long-term success if they just go straight to YouTube, because then at least the currency, the relevance, the keeping it sort of top of mind is actually easier. That's what I've heard. So what have you heard?
I mean, there's even like Beth Stelling, for example. She had a special that I believe was on Netflix, and it didn't do well. They didn't promote it well.
Yeah.
And then she finally got a whole. A lot of times then they'll give it back to right now we are. Our possession of this has run out, our contract, and now you can have it back. And then they put it on YouTube, and then it really gets eyes.
Right,
That's turned out for some people really well,
Well,
never know.
I mean, I'm editing this has been difficult. I actually had to put it on the shelf for about 2 years because while I was in Ukraine, I started to suffer from what I've termed a bit of a health collapse. Like I had this massive AFib attack, which is when your heart starts beating crazy, while I was there, and I didn't want to be this American yahoo going in and taking up hospital beds in a country that's fighting a war against the big bad neighbor.
I mean, that's thoughtful of you.
So,
jeez.
So I anyway, when I got back from that, I started to try to get this other stuff taken care of, but not to go into my own my chart, but I had the same. All this happened at once. I had irregular heartbeats, pretty severe, and I couldn't swallow, and I lost my voice almost completely for a while, and I developed central sleep apnea. This is all at the same time. Central sleep apnea is not snoring. It's not that. That's called obstructive sleep apnea.
Okay.
Central sleep, which you've heard of probably, right?
Course,
People
yeah.
wear the machine and their throat closes off and the machine forces air
I've seen
in.
the commercials.
Yeah. And mine was central. Central sleep apnea occurs in like your brain, one of the more elementary parts of the brain, and I just forget to breathe, basically. So I'm in the middle of the night and I stop breathing, and you only wake up when your oxygen, your O2 level gets so to a suffocating extent that your lizard brain kicks in and goes, "Wake up! You're gonna die!" And so I have a machine that I wear that keeps me breathing, and you just need to like remind the brain to breathe, which just is a little bit of air pressure.
Oh my God.
But if I don't wear that, I will not breathe for 90 seconds, and then I'll wake up like I'm suffocating. And so there's been some kind of nerve damage somewhere in my neck, brain area that is causing all this, and the neurologists, their best guess is it's viral nerve damage probably caused by COVID.
Wow.
So,
wow.
And the only thing that they've come up with is they can is nerve and muscle damage can regenerate to an extent, or compensate maybe is a better word for it. It just takes time. And so that's what we're waiting for. I do have surgery scheduled on my throat to try to get some of my voice back, where they actually take fat out of your ass and inject it into your throat to try to bring the vocal cords closer together. So,
are you writing jokes about that already?
Well,
Come on.
obviously that's the premise. So,
I
yeah,
love it.
I know. The fat in your ass can be used for so many late in life improvements.
I mean, who knew what you're working on?
Yeah, I knew it was put in lips. I knew people can move it around. Who knew?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I think we should wrap this up. I just wanted, so how much stand-up are you doing? Like, let's start with when you were here for Crash and Burn. Between then and now, how much stand-up have you been doing?
I have not been doing like long club sets. I've been popping around Seattle and doing 20 to 30 minutes. But it's been a little bit of an issue. Frankly, I'm a little bit of a charity case for him, because he's given me a chance to come and do a proper club where I haven't been able to really do that. Part of it is you don't want to book yourself when you book yourself to do a show. You're sort of promising the venue that you can deliver.
Sure.
So when you have problem with your voice and so on, you feel a little bit hesitant to make that promise, and with the idea that you might be able to pull it off. And then what? You've got the audience came out; they're expecting this. So So I've been hesitant to put myself out there too much.
Okay.
But Lewis had a short week here, and he thought he'd give me a chance. We can see how it goes. So I don't know who else is on the bill, but they may need to stretch a little bit.
As you and I talked about briefly before we started here, there was normally the headlining week starts on a Wednesday here.
Yeah.
But there was a special event last night.
Yeah.
So my preference is that I get to see the headliner before I talk to you on the podcast. Even somebody like you that I've known for a long time, I still like to see what you're talking about. So I was, of course, disappointed that we had to do this before that. But, well, I do want to see what you're doing on stage. Is my point.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to strike up the violins, but it's a kind of a reality, a dose of reality I wasn't really prepared for. But all of us, we don't know when we're going to be served up the next chapter of our life. So
for sure,
there's a chance if I'm not able to recover from this, this will be it. I'll have to do something else, because comes a point. Athletes know this because it happens early on in their life. There comes a point where they just can't deliver like they used to. But for them, it's I used to when I was 23, and now I'm 32, and I just can't do it anymore. Stand up is a little. We have a longer career, but it does happen. That if something happens, you've got to be able to use your voice. It's your tool, and if it gives out on you, you can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I started here. Maybe I'll finish here. Maybe this is it. This is it. But
I'm laughing because that's dark.
Yeah. There is something that's not funny about listening to a guy struggle to swallow and talk.
Yeah.
But maybe I could move on to the super gray hair circuit where I'm actually like the youngest guy in the room.
I mean, there's always another place, right? Wow. Thank you for talking about that stuff. That's, some real life stuff you're dealing with there.
Real life stuff, man. Wild, wacky, real life, death trap shit.
Well, I, for one, am very, I hope all this works out and that you come back in a year from now and we get to talk about all this because, first of all, I just want the best for you. Also, selfishly, you're a funny guy. I want to see you do more stand-up, Well,
let me do one bit that I wrote out that I have never done on stage, but I'll try it out this weekend and you give me some feedback on it because it's about this kind of breaking down as you get older, right? You don't expect it. But when you get a new car, a relatively new car, it's great, everything works, and then over time, it's not like the engine block cracks or anything or the tranny drops. It's little things start to break, like the little knob that adjusts the mirror might break off, and you don't actually go get that fixed, right? Or the little clip in the back that buckles down your groceries will break off, and so little things start to happen to the car that makes it not new anymore. And yes, you can get by without the thing, but it's sort of, whatever. Yeah, it just happens. Hollywood movies are full of major catastrophic death, but they never show you the baby steps leading up to that is 50 to 70, right? Like the little knobs breaking on your body. Like, okay, here's an example. Like I used to be able to bang out a Dugan, heave a Havana, drop a deuce like a jogger blowing out a snot wad, just keep going. That is starting to change. I don't know, it's like that region of my body is not quite as snappy as it used to be, as it were. I mean now
yes.
I'm just saying, when I go to the bathroom now, the amount of salves and balms and there's inspirational lectures and talking. There's noises that happen.
Remember when you were little and there was like old man smell?
Yeah.
And then suddenly you realize where that comes from.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like me dropping a deuce is more like the corner of a boxing ring between rounds. It's just a much bigger project.
Do you have a manager in there with you too?
I know, I do. Yeah. My girlfriend's knocking on the door. Are you okay? Cut it, Mick.
You need hydration, honey.
I don't know who wants to hear this, but anyway, it's so true.
Oh, I love it. All right. I think that's it. Is there anything else we should be telling people?
No, I think that's good.
I think it's good. Great to have you back.
Thank you. It's great to be still here.
There you go.